Hey, this is Jeremy with Strength in Numbers. So you know what the credit score is, but do you know what it's not? We're going to talk about that today in Demystifying the Credit Score. The credit score, the elusive sacred cow of personal finance. It seems like everyone is doing everything these days to keep their score good. They're balancing numbers, and they're balancing balances, and they're transferring balances, and they're paying things off, or they're keeping them the right amount. It feels like we're on a tightrope living under the shadow of our credit score because the credit score is so important, right? Well, what is this credit score anyway? Well, I want to explain that to you to make sure you really have a clear understanding of that. The credit score is generated by a company called FICO. FICO stands for Fair, Isaac and Company. Essentially, it's just a separate company from the credit reporting agencies of TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, so that there's a wall of accountability and separation there. They're not the ones actually doing the reporting. And so they are independent of any of your debt activity. They're just saying, hey, we see it, and here's your score based on that. And if you had to look at their credit reports, basically, it's just a track record of what your activity has been with credit. But if you look at the score, it's more of a test and a GPA type thing where they're generating your score and your performance, quote unquote, with credit as to how good or bad you've been doing with it. That's essentially all it is. So the actual credit score generated by FICO is measured in such. It's broken down by 5 criteria. So the credit score, FICO measures that firstly based on 35% of it being from your payment history. So if you're paying on time, you're paying late, you're 30 days late, 60 days late, etc. That's what they're looking at. The most important thing is, are you paying on time and regularly? Do you have payments that you make on a regular basis, whether they're on time or not, and are you paying them on time? 30% of it is going to how much is currently owed. So if they see you've got too much debt, or really, even if they see you have not enough credit, then they're going to score you according to that. And that's the 2 biggest factors. 65% of your score is based on how much debt you have and how often you are paying it off. That's pretty much it. That's 65%. The other 15% is made up of the length of your credit history. So those who are saying, well, I don't have a good credit score because I just started to build credit, but it's only 15% of your score. 10% of it is based on what kind of credit you have. Is it a credit card? Is it a car payment? Is it a mortgage? What is it? And then the last 10% is how much of this is new credit. So every single aspect of this 100% has to do with credit, which makes sense since it's called the credit score, right? What's really interesting about this is anything that doesn't have to do with credit is not in your credit score. And so a lot of people have been using a misnomer saying that this is a financial score. It's not. It's not a financial score. You can be responsible with finances, in fact, be even rich and not have a credit score if you don't interact with any credit. If you have no debt and you live debt-free, you don't have a credit score. If you have a good amount of money and then grandpa dies and leaves you $5 million tomorrow, your credit score doesn't change 1 point. It doesn't go up and it doesn't go down. It stays exactly where it was before because now you're well off and you've got all this money, but it's not a reflection of your interaction with debt, which is other people's money. So it's very interesting to look at this because a lot of people think that they have to live and die by this. But the truth is you don't. You don't have to live under the shadow of your credit score anymore. In fact, I have been debt-free for almost 10 years. We're recording this now in September 2017, and come spring 2018, that'll be my 10-year anniversary being debt-free. I have not had a single open credit account, credit line since then. I don't do it. I don't do debt. It's just too much risk and other things that we can get into another time, right? So there's a lot of things going on there that people forget about, and we're doing fine. I don't need anybody else's money. That's all credit is. And there's this misnomer or misunderstanding that you have to have this to survive, or if you have this, you're doing well. But what I find is most people get stuck in the credit game and they're trying to keep this score good and they end up staying in too much debt and then they can't pay it off fast enough and then it creeps up on them because this stuff is 80% behavior, not 20% math. So I want to broaden your horizons a little bit here as I'm educating you about what the score is and how it's calculated to realize that you actually don't have to have a credit score. Now here's the funny thing here in September 2017 as we're recording this. There's legislation in Congress that's trying to get this credit score to reflect things that are not just credit, such as your gas bill, your light bill, things like that, maybe even your rent someday, because they're realizing that this is not just about credit. People could be paying their rent on time every month for years and have no credit score. That doesn't make any sense, right? And so that shouldn't be what you're based on when you're going and getting a job, or you're going for an interview, or getting insurance quotes, or whatever it is. You shouldn't be based on just your interaction with debt. If we're going to look at whether you're really fiscally responsible or not, in fact, it's more fiscally responsible to avoid debt. And 75% of decamillionaires prove that in Thomas Stanley's book, The Millionaire Mind. So there's legislation going on with that right now where they're trying to change that. And the light bill in some areas, in my area especially, is starting to be reflected on your credit report. So even though I haven't interacted with debt in 10 years, I have a 720 credit score because my light bill is getting paid on time every month. So it's funny because a lot of people start to look at this and think that this is a measurement of your financial behavior as to whether you're a good boy or a bad boy with money, and it's not. It's not. So I want to broaden your horizons, release you from the mentality. You can live a debt-free lifestyle, and I would love to show you how. This has been Jeremy with Strength in Numbers, helping keep your wallet heavy and your heart light.